All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the state in Nigeria. They say the basis of development for any system or society is education and, of course, civilization. And in the same fashion, the driving force for the development in any system are the youth. Any system of country needs the optimal capacity of its youth and, of course, the vibrancy in its educational system. Again, I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, Kike Atanda-Owo. Of course, I have the Real Talk on the platform. Gosh, I don't know how to introduce this Atarodo with the energy, the strength. May God continue to strengthen you. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm doing very well. It's a beautiful day, sparkling as usual. We didn't do too badly too. Well, you're exhausted. Somehow we find hope and we keep pushing on. My name is Damilola Banire. I hope you enjoyed the show today. It's the Art of WK show, like Marshall will call it. It says the RTWK show. He takes so much pride in that. Marshall, look now, you're threatening us. What's with the top? What's with the top?
No. Well, don't have yours.
I'm just... I do. I cannot wear trousers now.
Oh God. Okay, it's actually the weekend show and I'm here. Marshall Anthony Ono here. We're keeping it real. Kike would always want us to keep it real. We hope that Dami, we're going to co-pilot this and hope that the pilot, that plunging headache she's got, will not weigh her down so much.
We'll do supporting striker for her.
Come up.
Just smile.
All right, guys, I'm back now. I can hear Nigeria's voice around the corner, so let's get to hear more on this Day in History segment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
On this day in 2007, court sentenced former Bayelsa State Governor Dipriye Alamezia to 2 years in jail on charges of corruption and money laundering and ordered him to forfeit millions in property and cash. Alamezia pleaded guilty before a Nigerian court to 6 charges and was sentenced to 2 years in prison on each charge. However, because the sentences were set to run concurrently and the time was counted from the point of his arrest nearly 2 years before the sentences, his actual sentence was relatively short. Many of his assets were ordered to be forfeited by the Bayelsa state government. According to Alamezia, he only pleaded guilty due to his age and would have fought the charges had he been younger. On July 27th, the following day, just hours after being taken to prison, he was released due to time already served. On the 11th of October 2015, Chief Dipriye Solomon Peter Alamezia died at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital.
All right, many thanks for staying with us on this Day in History segment. I just had another perspective to this segment, But for me, let me start off by saying that I was actually disappointed at first. I felt that it was doing the right thing, even embracing the 6 counts charges that was leveled against him, and the fact that he now turned around saying that it's because of age, hence the reason why he's actually embracing that. I just felt that some of our leaders, regardless of however you catch them, even if you catch them red-handed, so to speak, you still hear them say, "Oh, we are going to appeal." And I feel that is where transparency, accountability lacks, because at the end of the day, you realize that regardless of whatever thing they do, they end up, getting away with it. If someone like him had actually, I don't like to talk about the dead, in a very ill manner, because as far as I'm concerned, there's a Yoruba adage that says that because he has gone, he has used that to senior every one of us. So on that note, I tried to tread carefully, but I just didn't like the fact that, he couldn't embrace his all the areas that he goofed. I don't want to say, how corruption and all the likes and all of that. But quickly, I know that you have another perspective, what's your take on this?
It was what was in town at the time that Dipriye Alamezia passed, I think in 2015, and there were controversies around the fact that probably he wasn't even dead, and there were correlations between the case of him and late Bru Jikashamu in town. That was what was on the street. And I remember that one of their kingmakers in Ijo actually granted a press interview and said that any of their sons who is dead is dead. That so the controversy of claiming that probably because he wanted to escape and they had to lie that he was dead was not sure, that they wouldn't embrace him even if he comes back alive in 20 years time. So that was the controversy around it. And I don't think that history has recorded something very nice about him, and this is what we are reading, because he didn't even die a happy man. I think shortly before he died, he also lost one of his sons in Dubai due to a lot of controversies around, and his wife she was down with ill health and too many things around him. So what will posterity say about you and I? That's what I think we should take home today.
I think Daniel said there's really nothing more to say. I mean, you've said all there is to say about Alamesia. It just reminds us to stay clear from corruption. When you talk of Alamesia, what comes to mind readily is the guy who disguised as a woman to escape, and corruption as well would come to mind. It's unfortunate.
All right, on that note, we'll go on a quick break. All right, the NLC has warned that it might make the proposed 3 days warning strike indefinite if federal government fails to resolve its protracted industry disputes with public university workers that downed tolls over 5 months ago. And this is the current situation of the deadlock between the ASUU and the federal government. As at a week ago, the President General Muhammadu Buhari gave a 2 weeks ultimatum to Minister of Education Adamu to resolve the pending strike. And according to many, the ultimatum itself is shredded in several controversies. And on the show today, guys, this is the essence of the matter, and of course the topic at hand, and the reason why we are focusing on this, because it's real talk and it affects us all, especially when it comes to the educational sector. It's been 5 months since all the federal universities of the country have gone on strike. And to speak with us on this issue and of course current protest is an eminent scholar and, will I say, prolific publisher, who is also a reckoning when it comes to stakeholder as far as ASUU is concerned. I think it's important for us to get a profile, a quick profile of our guests before we usher him in. Stay with us, we'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Let me use this opportunity to quickly welcome our guest. Is a professor, Professor Jidiafo Adibi. I hope I pronounced that properly.
Jidiafo Adibi.
Jidiafo Adibi. All right, it's a pleasure to have your figure on the show today. How are you doing today, sir? Many thanks for connecting with us from our Abuja studio. How are you, sir? Are you there? Can you hear us? All right, I think we're having audio connection right now while we try to resolve that quickly. Let me come to her. All right, can you hear us, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, he's speaking.
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, fantastic, fantastic. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Many Many thanks for honoring my invite. So as we know, there's an ongoing protest that is going on right here in Lagos here, with the top lawyer Femi Falana, joining the NLC protest in Lagos. But ASUU strike has become an annual festival in Nigeria, costing not only educational sector but also destroying the lives of our youth. I must ask you, why are we always at this juncture when it comes to federal government and of course the ASUU calling off strikes after half negotiation? Why has it become a culture in our country today?
Yeah, thank you very much. People have raised the question of, can you hear me?
People have
asked the question of why ASUU cannot explore alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And some people have suggested that why is it that they don't go to industrial court, or industrial tribunal? Actually, among some colleagues, we discussed it, and the typical answer you get from ASUU, by the way, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not representing ASUU here, is that when you go to industrial court, it's like going to play a football match where your opponent is both the referee and has the whistle. So that one day you hardly expect anything in terms of justice, and even when you get it, then it becomes an issue of implementation. Also others, compare it when you are trying to sue a state government in a state high court. That's, the outcome is always known. So it is something that is not very good. The students, when they come back, you crush the program in that way. Even some of the lecturers themselves, when the whole thing is over, they become what you call ex-intellectuals. In other words, they start to lose some of their capacities for abstract reflection. The fact that this has lingered until close to 5 months, it's very unfortunate. And the fact that the government would tell the Minister of Education to resolve it within 2 weeks after it had, stretched for almost 5 months, it's a little bit, I wouldn't use the word dishonest because that's strong, but it's not being exactly very honest, because the buck stops on the table of the president. If they had wanted this to be resolved, it would have been easy. For example, if you listen to the way the Minister of Education and he reportedly walked out on them when they pointed out that some of them were celebrating the graduation of their children abroad, putting out paid advert on newspapers, while others are sitting home. And they got angry. And then even the Minister of Labor, when you look at the body language and the way he speaks, it's like talking down on academics. Who are you, by the way, to talk to a minister of the Federal Republic like that? They were asking, for example, initially for a face-to-face interface. And the minister was saying, we want, it has to be by Zoom. There's this kind of disrespect, Nigerian thing. You are the authority, you are the minister, and you are the just common lecturers. Are you not teachers? And coupled with the fact that some of them are, because the pay is so small, some of them are look away emaciated, and for them it becomes an affront to take a position, and that's very unfortunate. If we, recognize the importance of education, if we recognize that in any dispute you need to approach it, let people trust you, let people know that you are coming with open mind, that you are willing to make efforts. I'm not saying there are no issues with the university teachers themselves or from the institutions. I'm just saying that in this case, the government has the capacity to resolve it. It's not just, if you look at the issues at stake, it's not just the issue of money. In 2009, it was agreed to 1.5 trillion naira over 3 years. Yes, it may sound like a lot of money, but don't forget that between 2009 and now, the purchasing power of that amount of money will have become less than 1/3. And that in this year alone, we're using 4 trillion naira to subsidize petrol. So when you look at it, yes, the problem of education in a country like ours is a reflection of the whole problem of underdevelopment in other sectors. But we have not seen, personally, that that people in authority will be willing to sit out 5 months in public institutions. People say it's because their children are not involved. So it's very unfortunate. I will move forward to a time where it becomes part of our requirement that if you want to run for an office of governor or president, at least some of your children will be part of the public education system. They will be part of attending public hospitals, because that's the only way we can hold these people, at least out of enlightened self-interest to do something.
I like the last bit of your submission to say that if public officers, like we put them in the office, are made to, of course, put their children in Nigerian universities, and like the ASUU too had claimed that if some of our public officers, governors, ministers, and so to speak, if their children were members of these public universities, that ASUU will not have come to play in this manner. But if you look at it, since 1999, there has been one ASUU strike or the other, year in, year out, and looking at the fact that we've had different parties, political parties in government. Now, does this speak about the nonchalance of our leaders, citing the example of the Minister of Education who walked out on some of the non-students when they were asking for their rights? Is this a thing of competence? Because I believe, or I would like to say, if somebody who values education was the minister and who knows the importance of education, I'm not sure that he would even want to walk out on this student, knowing that the popular appellation that says we are the leaders of tomorrow. Do you think it boils down on competence and people who are deserving not being put in the exact position?
Let me say that Adamu is probably one of the best writers in this country. Even though he read accountants, he's extremely very well educated. He's an accountant. I don't believe that you necessarily need to have been a university professor to be a minister of education. I don't think so. But it's part of the arrogance of power that you see everywhere. You can also see the way the Minister of Labor, was talking. Oh, if I want, I can escalate it to arbitration panel. If I want, I can do this. And the information minister was reminding them that it is illegal. If they go and this strike they are doing is illegal. But what they forget is that there have been attempts in the past to proscribe the ASUU. Babangida did it in 1988 when they went on strike. Then he forgave them, so to say. In 1990, they started operating. In 1992, they went on strike again. Babangida again proscribed them. But they still are here. It's just like the medical doctors. Sometimes when they go on strike, some state governments will say, oh, we are sacking all of you, everybody will reapply. If you go to the history, it never works. So it is something that both sides should be able to sit down. We do recognize that we are in dire financial times. And I believe that if you come with not looking down on people, in this country, there's too much bigmanism. So if you are not an ex-governor, you're a governor, and then who are you to talk to the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in this manner? And even the president himself will think, what's their strength in terms of voting bloc? So we come down to that thing that operates in our society where every group tries to use the power it has to hold the system to ransom in order to get the system's attention. So we will resort to this fire brigade approach after 5 months. I don't think it is right. And the fact that the NLC, the fact that several other unions within the university system are going on sympathy strike instead of being angry with the ASUU shows you there's a sort of understanding. There's a sort of understanding that maybe the government on its own has not done what it should. Because quite often in circumstances like this, the ASUU will lose its goodwill. And people will start saying, why don't you go back? Yes, people are still saying it, but to the extent that many are now condemning the government is also an indication that people believe that the government has not done what it should. Take, for example, this statement from the president. Why will you say you're giving 2 weeks? Does it mean the president never knew that the strike had been ongoing, has stretched for 5 months? Are you then implying, even if you're implying that the problem was with Dr. Chris Ndudige, the Minister of Labor, and is that the way to, wouldn't you have called them? What will be the big deal in you as the president calling the leadership of ASUU and then calling the Minister of Education, the Labor Minister, to a table? Sometimes in situations like that, there are people who have moral authority, some clergymen, who are people who may have moral authorities. Getting them involved in such negotiation, instead of, having this kind of top-down thing, looking down on some individual and saying, we are your employers, we dictate what happens. Yes, you are right, but you're not in the private sector. In the public sector, employer-employee relationship takes a different turn. And in this case, when you are talking about education, which is an extremely a critical sector of the economy, there are things that we know we are not getting right. UNESCO, for example, recommends 26% of GDP. In our current budget, is only 5.04%. Yes, we may not be able to get to the UNESCO level, but this is the kind of thing we sit down with the president, we show understanding. Instead of jetting out of the country at the whim, sit down with the leadership and invite others for negotiation.
Professor Jinofo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. For me, I'd like to request, probably, if I say that you should school us on how this whole ASUU strike makes the country look, just at a time when Nigerian educational standard seems to be rising from the ashes. Time was when we looked at the Nigerian educational system and we said it was on a downward trend, looking at the quality of students the universities churned out, at a time when it seemed to be rising from the ashes, and then we now have incessant strikes that appeared to have a government not concerned about it. As a professor of political science, I'd really want you to school us as to how this whole dilemma makes the entire nation appear before the international community.
Well, if you know, Nigeria is not the only country where you have strikes. You go to France, you will see the truck drivers will block the road to occasionally. In the UK, you recently had strike by aviation workers. It's not the best. And I can tell you, even among academics, nobody is pleased. Many academics know that you get decoupled from abstract reasoning when you have this prolonged strike. But as I said, in this country, it seems that people don't listen to you until you can demonstrate your capacity to overwhelm the system. So you can see in the universities, people are restricted to rioting. You go have NSAS. You have to do things that in normal countries where you have effective dispute resolution mechanisms, you have institutions that are durable, that are trustworthy. Those institutions are usually mobilized or utilized to resolve such issues. But in our own case, the reason why our people are blaming the government is that it seems as if you say, well, I'm calling your bluff. So ASUU then takes his position of no shaking, so to say. It's not the best. Nobody says it's the best. But in a situation like this, who is the weaker party? It's ASUU. Who is the stronger party? It's the government. Who has the capacity to do something? It's the government. So what I think lacks, or maybe I'm not speaking for ASUU by the mayor, and I'm not by any chance a part of his executive. What I can read from the body language of both the Minister of Education and the Minister of Labor is a sort of arrogance, and that's not conducive for any kind of negotiation. What I would like us to think of is, why is it that many people are not getting angry with us, but instead getting angry with the government? And you can see that this anger...
Sir, apologies, I might have to interrupt your line of thought. I'm glad that you've, spoken about, shed light on talking about the weaker sector and of course the winning sector, and why a lot of people are not angry towards ASUU. But let me bring you back to ASUU that said that the federal government has only addressed 2 out of its 8 demands, including the visitation panel to federal universities, and of course described the release of funds for the earned academic allowance and revisitation funds as partial. What's your take on this regarding them saying that this is partial?
As I said, I'm not speaking for, I've never been part of the executive of ASUU, so I will not be in a position to answer some of the questions that were responses from the ASUU executives. But I'm just responding as a normal academic that yes, there are other issues. Visitation panel was one that maybe if they're saying, look at this, instead of making us look back, each time we complain, you come and dangle a few things before us and then say, go back, the other issues will be resolved. As soon as we go back, you won't talk about the other issues. Then they will wait for another 1 year and then say, what of the other issues you promised you are going to look at? They will probably not pick your calls. And then, as I said, the system, the only thing that people seem to understand is demonstrate your capacity to overwhelm the system. Then they go back to the strike. Many people don't believe it should be that way. The strike should not be part of it. And we hope that in this, probably one of the issues why this is, as prolonging, let everybody find some issues that will be a durable resolution of this crisis, so that not every 2 years or not each time a new ASUU chairman comes on board, there will be a need to come back to strike again. It's very tiring to many people, including myself. And I can tell you many lecturers are not happy. By the time the students come back now, you rush them for within 2-3 weeks, there will be an exam and the quality will keep deteriorating. Even the quality of the academics themselves will also keep deteriorating. At a point, many of us believe that the government should devise a system whereby, your ranking, the ranking of your universities in global order will be part of the ways or indices used in disbursing the federal location.
Prof. Gideon, many thanks for all you've shared thus far, because with your submission, it's obvious that there's a tussle, and with the fact that you're talking about the resolution crisis, we need to be frank with ourselves in Nigeria, or as Nigerians, because I feel that the bottom line of this tussle between federal government and, of course, the ASUU is basically because of money for arrears and, of course, rehabilitation of university infrastructures. And with what you've also shared thus far regarding resolution of crisis, to be candid, sir, the government that is prone to borrowing money, so to speak, doesn't have the financial power to meet all the agreements except from the foreign sources, or will I say the detriment of other sectors that helps in cushioning the challenges that we have at hand now. So my question to you right now, sir, with all that you've shared thus far, that has become a culture in our country, Nigeria, when it comes to the educational sector, how do you think NLC and other bodies joining the strike, in terms of the feasibility of solution that can be preferred right now with the challenges we have? What's your advice on this?
Well, their joining is to put pressure. My understanding is that is to put pressure on the government, to let the government know that it has the capacity to resolve it. It's not just, let me talk about the issue of the IPPIS, the integrated payroll and personnel system. ASUU is opposed to it. And the reason, for example, if you are in the academic system and you understand how academic system works across the world, for example, the IPPIS, after the age of 60, it will just immediately remove you, because it will have assumed that you've retired, because it's geared for the civil service. But we do know, for example, that university professors are allowed to retire at 70 and others at 65. Now, in the university system, there's a lot of mobility. You can be called in as an external examiner. In fact, you need external examiners. you go on sabbatical. Now, if I come on a sabbatical in your institution, you will not be able to pay me because if you pay me, I'll be like a ghost worker. If I come to do external examination for your institution, you cannot pay me. So these are the things and they developed their own alternative system known as the UTAS. It's a question of the two sides sitting down and listening. I'm not necessarily saying that something somewhere is wrong, and that has to do with the issue of trust. I believe if ASUU feels that the government is doing its best towards resolution of the crisis, then I'm sure it will shift ground because nobody likes this situation, not the ASUU themselves. And most of them have not been receiving their salaries since then. So, so if you want to just bring it down, there's also the issue of university autonomy. So it's also about the issue of principle. If you bring something from outside and impose on us, how is it then about the university of autonomy?
Fantastic, sir. We'll go on a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about the ASUU strike and, of course, the current deadlock between ASUU and, of course, federal government, to which the president has issued 2 weeks ultimatum to the Minister of Education. And on the show with us is a professor of political science and international relations at the Nasarawa State University, Professor Jidiafo Adibe. I say many thanks for all you've shared thus far. I think before I come to Damilola, let me quickly use this opportunity to open our phone lines. Remember, you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number 080-988-77400, showing on your screen right now. Remember that we are streaming live on YouTube page and, of course, on Facebook page, on Real Talk with Kike, and, of course, on Silverbird platform. Dami, what's your...
Professor, my question will be, you mentioned something about trust, that because the ASUU does not trust the federal government, or the federal government feels that the ASUU, they are demanding for too much, and they should understand that, of course, we're having financial crisis in the country. But at the moment, away from ASUU, if we bring it to the fore, on the table of every Nigerian now, we have practically even lost trust in each other. From brotherhood to family, into government, we put them in place, we voted for them, and they have come to turn against us in several ways. But going forward, do you think there's a way we can still have unity or instill unity? Even looking at the religious bodies, everybody is so disorganized and people are just going left, right, and center, minding themselves and their business. How can we bring back the unity, that unity that we seek, that we had always preached in Nigeria for a long time?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And you see the politicians, everyone is now campaigning on uniting the country. And then some of them started by by even having legitimacy crisis in their initial decisions. You are right. There is a lot of, Nigeria is one of the countries we call low trust societies. The level of trust is very low. And one of the consequences of that is that you don't have any institution or an individual that commands legitimacy across the several fault lines. So in countries or in societies where you have individuals or institutions that command legitimacy, meaning which almost everyone trusts, then it becomes easier to resolve disputes. Let's say, for example, if the industrial courts or in the
all right, I think we just had a network disconnect from our Abuja studio. But guys, let me come to you quickly while they try to connect to that, because I feel that with what he has shared thus far, he has been able to throw light on, the separation of powers when it comes to the federal government and, of course, the ASUU sector as well. And I feel that with what he has shared, especially with the finance operation of our country, do you think, Macha, let me come to you, do you think that, we need to, okay, I understand we have a caller on the show. Many thanks for calling, Sylvester. What's your contribution on the topic at hand? Please go straight to the point because of time. Okay, I think we lost that. Do you think that the schools need to start operating away from the pocket of the federal government with all the challenges that we are facing right now?
It will be an uphill task. It will be very difficult. They are under the federal government. Yes, they have other means of generating revenue, and that's why they have their internal generated revenue. And those revenues are used to sustain certain functions or certain runnings of the schools internally.
All right, I understand we have Prof. Back. Again, many thanks, Prof, for staying with us. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were an analysis.
Yeah.
No, I was saying that Nigeria is a low trust country. And one of the characteristics is that of such societies is that you don't have any individual that commands legitimacy across the fault lines. That means you don't have an institution that all contending parties believe that if they approach such an individual or such an institution, they will get justice. If that were so, for example, it would have been easier for, say, ASUU to approach the industrial court and say, we are suing this government for breach of whatever it is. But as I say, there are many people who have spoken to about this. This option in ASUU will tell you it is like you are going to a football match in which your opponent is both the referee and has the whistle. He has the whistle and plays. So even if you manage to win, they told me, how are you going to get the government to pay it? So it is, I agree with you, it is, we are hoping that in the next dispensation, that when we get the next government, whoever emerges the winner, we will realize that unless we unite Nigerians...
Prof, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. I don't know if you hear me.
Okay, we can hear you loud and clear. It's just that when we want to communicate with you, we have some issues right there. Yeah, however, with what you've shared thus far, you know, regarding the the involvement of governments on different sectors when it comes to finances, when it comes to power of character, when it comes to also ownership culture and unifying the country, you know, I must ask you, this is where your expertise, you know, comes to play. Many analysts think that the current administration are just out to play politics with the lives of Nigerian students, so to speak. You know, I personally do not see this current government serious about education and the lives of Nigerian youth, and I stand by what I've just said now. And because with all that you've shared thus far, it's obvious that the educational system in this country is down the drain. But however, the lives of Nigerian youth at the moment, I don't want to actually also point fingers at the Nigerian youth, but quickly, do you think that, or will I say, how do you think that we can quickly sustain the failing and the depreciating quality of our tertiary education right now in Nigeria? What are your suggestions based on your expertise and being in the corridor of the educational sector for over 2 decades? What's your advice on this?
Well, we just keep hoping for the best. The good thing about democracy is that it gives us the option of changing a government. So, and luckily, we're on the election season, on the eve of an election year. So we're just hoping that whatever may be the imperfections of the current administration in terms of attention paid to education and other sectors, that when people want to vote, they will look at the various options and then decide. If they feel that the problem is with the party in power, then they will take a decision. If they feel it was with the person in power, then that's a different thing. But democracy gives us that option, that we'll use the ballot box, we'll use our PVCs to express our satisfaction or dissatisfaction with the party in power or with the people in power. So there's no way I believe that these are part of the problems of transition, that at a point in this country, things will start to get right. I'm very optimistic about that.
All right, many thanks for all your submission thus far. Hoping, I think that is what has landed also some of the challenges we have at the moment. But I wish you have time to actually follow up on that submission of hoping. All right, but before we let you go, sir, there's the last segment of the show that we call Trending Stories, stories that interest us as Nigerians, that bind us together, and of course, that unify also to speak with most of the conversation we'll be having thus far. And the first trending story that caught our attention is that of the 5 record-breaking feat of the golden girl. I would like to refer to her now. That's Tobi Amusan. Quickly, Dami, let me come to you. What's your take on Tobi Amusan?
I think it's a good win for Nigerians, at least away from the heart-wrenching and heartbreaking stories we hear every other day. We need to keep celebrating our wins. And for me, I would also take Tobi's history into Azizat Oshoala, who also won the CAF Oshoala, who also won the CAF Women's Award for the best player in the fifth time. So it feels that the women are winning. I don't know if you permit me to say the men are still stealing. But however, I see that if the government does invest in people, this is human capacity development, we're sure to bring back home good news.
All right. Many thanks.
Kike, before you make your submission, I just want to, on behalf of all the men that are watching this show, Dami.
All right. Hold your thought. I will be coming to the guys, and the fact that you want to jump at it. Let me quickly give my submission before I call on the men to give the analysis on this trending story. Let me start off by concurring with what you said at the beginning, which is that I'm happy. I'm so delighted to have read the news and saw that the clip we're breaking records all over the place, knowing that there are a lot of ills that is going on at the moment, especially when it comes to our social media platform. So to get one sweet and positive news, I know it's very scarce at this moment. So when we get one, it's time for us to release on it and just make it trend. And these are the things I feel that should trend instead of all the, don't let me go there. Let me be polite right now. So there's so much negativity and sad news out there, but it is, this is like an hunger in the land of insecurity or inflation of the commodities that we are going through right now when it comes to the many bad news that has befallen us in Nigeria. And secondly is the fact that I'm happy that she's a woman doing Nigeria and African proud. I wish I can emphasize on it right now. I wish I was on my radio program giving her the shekere. I love the fact that she has kept her hope alive, because I saw an old clip of her, comparing herself to the previous winner, and I believe her faith, her consistency have brought her thus far. And well, for everyone like her who wants to align with her, especially knowing that in this country, I don't want to say in this country, I think all over the world, people want to align with a winner and of course an achiever, and we can saw how quite a number of platforms started celebrating her. And I can see her face and video in almost every stayer and also social media page. Even her Amata's what's it called? School celebrated her, gloriously. And I think that those are many lessons that we need to pick from this. One is the fact that she had picked herself from for where she grew up and developed herself. Her name may not probably be, on the record if she has not actually put in the work. And I also want to use this opportunity to also say that we have many Nigerians with equal and even better talent, if you ask me, but the system has failed us or has failed them, and it's still failing us. We can use the educational sector as an example now. And the last lesson for me, for the youth, is the fact that, I don't want to direct all our energies on the fact that there is a lot of negativity out there, but the fact that, we need to actually pick something from this is that we should listen that there must be something that we must pick from what has happened to Tobi Amusan. And I feel that also it may not be education. Let me use this opportunity to say that quite a number of people tend to tilt towards education, educate yourself. Yeah, I'm not saying that we shouldn't educate ourselves, but find one thing that you can do or that you love to do that you can use to better yourself. And I feel that the world will reward your hard work and your resilience at the end of the day. So again, what I also want to pick from this, you know, maybe because I'm a trainer, is the fact that time management is something that we all need to actually kind of develop ourselves. It's very key, you know, people always abuse time, you know, and I feel that imagine if it has taken her a second to take the first leg that she took, she might not be the winner today. Again, let me also come back to Steve Harvey, this popular show in America, the morning show, and this is one person that I can tell you that did not graduate from Kent State University, but made the best use of his talent, which is what I'm emphasizing on, that our youth needs to be positive about themselves. They need to be more productive with their time. They need to understand that they shouldn't just be typing away their future on social media, because I feel that that is where the youth of today have now show their energy into. And Marshall, quickly, before you want to rant on how women are winning, you need to first of all acknowledge the fact that women today are not only just winning, we are in the corridor of most sectors, and we are adding positivity to that and value to that. What's your take on that?
Marshall is out for me.
Well, I'm not out for anybody.
He's out for me.
I don't know how Marshall entered into that Kike speech, but anyway, because Dami said the women are winning and the men are stealing. I take an exception for that. And on behalf of other men, men are not stealing. You know the men that are stealing, those in the corridors of power. Men. Not even all of them. However, Dami and Kike has said all there is to say about the winning golden girl. But what touched me the most when I watched the video was at the time when the national anthem was being recited, and it got to this part where it said, one nation bound in freedom. And then there she paused, and then the tears rolled down her eyes. It really struck a chord in my heart, you know, and I'm sure what could have been going through her mind at that time was really one nation bound in freedom. Are really free. Just before that video, I saw the video of the kidnapped victims, the Abuja train kidnapped victims, and how the terrorists were flogging them and maltreating them, and then I now saw that video. It really it went a long way to say, look, we really need to do a lot of work to bring back this nation to where it is expected to be. All
right, sir, what's your contribution on this trending story?
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very touching. I actually also shed tears because, you know, Nigerians excel not just in sports. Look at music. Look at Burna. Look at Davido. Look at all of them that go out. Even the students here that they regard as below average, once they step outside the country, some of them become stars. So, and this is a source of hope for all of us. You know, there is something that touches every Nigerian. And it's just amazing. And I say congratulations to the lady.
Many thanks for your contribution. So the second trendy that caught our attention, quickly we need to give our submission on this, is the fact that Marshall touched on it earlier while he was giving a submission about the adopters of Abuja Kaduna train passengers that released new videos showing victims tortured and are saying that they are coming after the people who are in the corridor of power. Marshall, quickly, before they start running commentary, what's your take on this?
I can't right now. I'll let you guys go.
All right, I feel that, you know, you just, you know, we are all like that. Sometimes we are overwhelmed with all of these challenges, and it's so unfortunate, you know. But I feel that, you know, this is highly disturbing if you ask me. I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally, it is torturing. It's like they are torturing also to speak. And as you can see that, you know, one of my co-hosts, Marshall, cannot even give his submission because, you know, watching the video, you can just imagine the kind of see how they are torturing them and the likes and all of that is very disturbing. And the fact that the terrorists and the bandits are making threat of adopting the #1 citizen, even the sitting governor of Kaduna State, and nothing is being done about it. You know, I ask myself, what a direct threat. What kind of country am I in? You know, why am I even still in Nigeria? You know, because this is a shameful situation right here, and it has just gone to show that how helpless and how clueless we are in this country with so much nonsense, for lack of a better word, right now. And well, I think that I have resigned from disturbing my brain, if I must say, or my senses, trying to wrap my head around nonsense, you know, that we are being fed on a daily basis by the government, because I feel that this is where accountability and swiftness come into play when we want to hold the government into play. Because if this government, can, they apprehended Nnamdi Kanu from overseas and they can arrest bandits under their nose, I'm asking myself then, who are they deceiving? For how long will this continue to play out? For how long will they continue to deceive Nigerians? Those are the things that are coming to it. This is suspicious, and if you ask me, very malicious, and I feel that it's not making sense anymore. Hence the reason why I don't think that I want to disturb my brain right now going forward. I just sympathize with the victims. I pray that they gain their freedom. I pray that none of us, try to find ourselves in this situation, because like Yoruba people will say, "Ẹni tó bá bá ló mọ̀," and may we not be on the road when such ills, such ills happens. Because I just feel that that's all I can say for now, sir. Before I come to you, sir, what's your take on this when you saw the video? Let me come to you, sir, Professor Jidiofo.
Thank you very much. I see a parallel between that's the long captivity of those people and the ASUU strike. The same insensitivity, or don't you see the parallel? ASUU has been on strike for a long time. The government doesn't care. These people have been held for a long time. And I can tell you, if any of their children or relatives or a senior military person was involved, the government will just issue an instruction. We need them found, fished out within 2 weeks. And usually it is done. And these are people pleading for life. And government seems insensitive. And all you hear ransom. It's very pathetic.
All right.
But,
all right. Many thanks for your submission. We've run out of time. I wish I can just add to that. I say when you said one of them, if one of them siblings, the new current minister for transportation, I heard when he was talking on air saying that his cousin was part of the people that were abducted, but the cousin has been released. With that, we've come to the end of another edition of Real Talk with Kike. Indeed, we had an awesome show on today's edition of Real Talk with courtesy our resourceful guest, Professor Adibe. Thanks for coming on the show and for connecting with us from our Abuja studio. And of course, to my co-host, many thanks for keeping it real. Marshall, Nigeria happens to all of us. We just have to take it as it comes. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo.
My name is Damilola Banire.
Yeah.
I am Marshall Anthony Ono. God bless you.
May Nigeria not happen to us. Thank you.
Nigeria happens to all of us every day.